to Enlightenment of Change on webtalkradio.com. I'm your host, Connie Whitman. You know that I am happy that you're here with us today. Now, I hope as you listen to the show, look, my guests and I, we get it. That word change sometimes throws us into a severe tailspin, especially if the change is thrust upon us. But if we're in a position, a powerful position of choosing that change, wow, we can make magic happen super, super fast. So to help you navigate change in your life, one of the key skills I think humans need is communication, or really refined communication skills. So in the show notes, you'll see my link for my communication style assessment. You'll get 2 reports. One will spotlight just your natural communication superpowers, so you fully understand how your messages are being received. Flip side, your lowest score, you'll receive a secondary report spotlighting that potential blind spot, which oftentimes I think is even more valuable because we kind of know our superpower. So again, link is in the show notes, my gift to you. And I hope it helps you navigate change a little smoother, a little bit easier, with a little bit more ease and grace. Now, my motivational quote today is by the amazing Buddha, and he says, "To keep the body in good health is a duty. Otherwise, we shall not be able to keep our minds strong and clear." Now, I love this quote because I remember when I was younger, I exercised every day, cardio, lifting weights, whatever it was, Pilates, etc. And then as my career grew and more demands, then marriage, and then kids, exercise took a back seat, unfortunately. And what happened around, I was probably about 40 years old. I had been in business for a year, and I felt like I was moving through life just without any energy or passion, which is so not like me. So after working with a holistic doctor, we did a ton of blood work. The results came back that I had multiple things going on, but it was severe adrenal fatigue. My body was weak, stressed, and I wasn't even able to get a good night's sleep to rejuvenate. So just overall, not a good combo. So for the past 22 years, I've continued to work with the same holistic doctor. I make healthy life choices so I can remain strong, relevant with my business and my family. I have my passion back, and I'm thriving because of good habits that I just have cultivated through the years. So for me, it starts with a healthy mind, body, and of course, spirit. My guest today, wow. We are so in alignment. Dr. Shannon Connolly and I, we're going to discuss how you can reframe your relationship with exercise and fitness so that you can lead to better overall performance and health outcomes for the next decades, plural, of your life. Dr. Shannon holds a degree in chiropractic, clinical nutrition, and exercise science. She's a former D1 field hockey player. She discovered the power of strength and confidence on the field. Now she's dedicated to helping young female athletes harness their inherent resilience early on. Shannon aims to redefine athletic standards for women, ensuring fitness is attainable for all. Her personal and professional journey has led her to discover that she needs to be less of a doctor and more of a guide and coach to have a deeper and more meaningful impact on her clients' overall health and lives. She uses sustainable training principles combined with behavior coaching to help her folks feel and be a badass for life. My kind of lady. Welcome. Welcome, Shannon, to the show.
I love that. Thank you.
Yes, I love that word badass because
me too.
You know, men and women, right? We want to be cool. We want to be loving. We want to be a badass underneath too, right? And take the world by storm.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah. So just really quickly, because this is, of course, a business podcast, even though today we're talking about health and wellness, I do want to share how I met Shannon. So we have a leakage in my bathroom. Tiles had moved, so we needed a tile person, and my brother-in-law. So follow the chain here. I had a need. My brother-in-law and sister had done some construction. I reached out and said, "Hey, who is your tile guy?" He sent me John, Shannon's husband. John, a step above all, I will tell you, came down to my office, made sure I wasn't on the phone, to introduce himself and shake my hands. Meanwhile, he was dealing with my husband, did not need to do that, but he included me. Very, very happy with that. And as we were chatting, because he's super friendly too, told me about Shannon, and I immediately said, "Oh, she's the exact person I need for my show, Enlightenment of Change." So as a business or a career, Connectivity is so important. You never know where the magic's going to happen. And now Shannon and I, forget about John. He's out of the picture.
I know.
Now Shannon and I are friends. Forget about John. But trust me, connectivity, those connections, asking for referrals, and then sharing what you do with others, you never know where that magic's going to come from. So again, I had to share that story, Shan, because it's how we have to do business. You as a business owner,
Right.
me as a business owner, careers, right? Your husband, his career. So all of this connectivity matters, peeps. So that's my story about Shannon. That's how we met.
Absolutely. I love it.
Now I want to know about you, kiddo. Forget about John and his business.
Yeah, he can go away for a second.
Go away. Now we're going to talk us. So my first question, really, based on just the depth of your experience with chiropractic, the science of going for graduate degrees, what are some of the most common challenges that you have come to see with folks?
Yeah, no, really, really good question. So I think at the end of the day, the biggest thing I see is there's just been a huge loss of like self-confidence in themselves, in their bodies. And that's pretty much leading to, a disruption of their life, right? Like whether that's pain, whether that's, kind of becoming more aware of the, lack of, healthy habits that they're exhibiting in their lifestyle. And I think it really kind of comes back to just a lot of all or none type of thinking. So I feel like I kind of discovered this kind of mismatch of, somebody's relationship to like exercise and fitness. Because we all know, right, at the end of the day, right, it's not uncommon knowledge that, healthy habits, good food, good sleep, good movement is probably like the key to living a long and healthy, active life. But, over time with, maybe like you've had injuries along the way, right? Like aging, I think aging is going to happen to everybody. And like kind of these little setbacks maybe along the way, right? Like I know you mentioned too, right? Like you got busy with life, you had kids, you have a husband, you have all these things going on in life. And maybe things that you used to have as good habits when you were younger aren't necessarily translating to like just where you're currently at in, your new life, your new transition. And so I think, that kind of leads to this disconnection between your current like thoughts and feelings and beliefs and like what your values and priorities are. So I feel like that's really just kind of the biggest thing I see is that there's just like a big disconnection between thoughts, feelings, beliefs, and habits, or it's really like a mind-body disconnection, on top of that.
And right. My story, everything went crazy. When I opened my business, I had babies at home. You have a house, husband, right? You have all these demands and traveling a lot. I was in Connecticut a lot. So you're, overnights, where do you fit it in? And literally my health took a back seat where people were after the fact, after going on the right supplements, and it was all holistic. I didn't start taking, medication. It was just hormonal stuff. It was vitamin D. My vitamin D was non-existent, right? This adrenal fatigue. But I have to tell you, after going on a regimen, and it was quick, Shannon, it was quick, 2-3 weeks, people were saying to me, we thought you were really sick and we were afraid to say anything. I had bags under my eyes. It's such a slow decline for me. I never even saw it until I realized I couldn't move. I mean, I was so over fatigued that my body just couldn't function. So I think it happened slowly, even though I had good habits, remember, before kids and everything. So the evolution of life, the ebbs and flows of life throw us for these tailspins. And I think that the thing that you said for me that just resonated is that disconnect. And I think everybody listening is like, yeah, I've had that through my life, or, oh my gosh, I'm going through that now. And I know your philosophy is, so let's get the connection back, but let's start with things that you're actually going to be able to do. So when I was starting my business, if someone said to me, well, you have to work out 2 hours a day, it would never have happened. It would have been impossible. But if you go, 15 minutes, right? Just do 15 minutes, then you can ebb it up, right? Or work it up once that becomes a habit. So I love, that's why when I spoke with you, I thought, this is what my people, my people listen to my podcast. This is what we need, real solutions to real life. And I think that's what you're all about, especially because you have the medical as well as that holistic perspective. So you get how the functionality of the body and all of that. So yeah, I think it's important.
Yeah, no, I fully agree with everything you just said. And I think one thing I think I realized too as a clinician, right? Yeah, I have all this knowledge and information. And yes, I went to school and yeah, maybe I know things that maybe the general population doesn't know. But I think one thing that I really kind of came to fruition a little bit more so with the kind of the coaching side of things is that, right, I'm not the expert on anybody's life. Right. I don't know what your day to day looks like. Right. I don't know what's going on behind the scenes. Right. Like, yeah. Do you have kids that really need your full undivided attention, like little ones versus, older kids? Like, are you also taking care of your parents? Do you have maybe a problem with your husband? Like you're going through a divorce, you know what I mean? Like all these things that, you really don't know what's going on behind the scenes. So I feel like as a clinician, I have information and knowledge and I could easily just tell people what to do. But if you don't really understand what's going on in somebody's life, then I feel like, you're just going to have kind of disconnected solutions with something that actually isn't able to be actually implemented into somebody's life. And I think that's what kind of goes on with a lot of just traditional healthcare. And even I feel like fitness, right? It's very all or none. It's just this protocol you have to follow, right? But if you don't fit into that protocol because of whatever's going on in your life, then I feel like people can feel really discouraged and just kind of frustrated. And then it becomes more of this overwhelming thing that you have to figure out. And I think, right, there's a lot more to it than just kind of, the clinical knowledge as well.
It's good foundation because depending on if someone comes to you with a knee injury, you were an athlete, right? You're a chiropractor, you understand the body. Pause, right? Go take it. Let's get an MRI, go to your doctor, let's see what's really going on before we add any kind of exercise. Do you need physical therapy? I don't know, right? But what is going on? It has to be customized. Otherwise, I think the other thing too, when you were describing it, and I remember meeting people and say, well, you need to exercise more. And I'd be like, oh my God, I don't even sleep because I'm so busy. I'm going to bed, and I'm getting up and I'm starting my day. And you want me to fit something else in. And then what would happen is I felt guilty. You want to stay healthy, you need to exercise. You're not watching what you're eating, blah, 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 right? Mm-hmm. And then I felt guilty. So I felt even more disgusted with myself versus saying, well, how can I empower? And I love the word that you said at the beginning, that confidence, because everything starts to go downward, spiral downward instead of that spiral upward. So this is my next question too, because I think it's important. What ways do you think that the mental and emotional well-being, right, intersects with that physical health? I couldn't do it, so I felt guilty, which made me feel even crappier than I had been feeling, right? So how does health evolve for you over the years? Because I think that's part of that disconnection too.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. I do think that it is so interconnected and intertwined than I think we even really give it credit for sometimes. Yeah. I mean, like you said it so perfectly, right? Think about your thoughts, your feelings, the emotions that you're having essentially lead to your habits, right? And the choices that you make and the results that come from those habits and choices. Yeah. So, it's so much more than, right, again, just telling people what to do. Like you said, you just got to exercise more. You're like, yeah, but I'm right. It's just, it's
not going to happen.
So disconnected, interconnected. Right. And I think it's, important too that, sometimes it's really hard to become very self-aware, right, over those thoughts and feelings that you're having. Yeah, and sure. So I think we are evolving to become more aware, right? I do think that, and I don't like to maybe stereotype generations, because I work actually with younger people and older people too. And I think, the awareness that maybe both sets of populations have had to be aware of what's happening, their thoughts and their feelings, and how that's influencing, the reality that their life is. But I do find that, some people have a difficult time like really recognizing those limiting beliefs and factors that are ultimately kind of keeping them stuck potentially. And so I think I've really fully appreciated this very like biopsychosocial kind of approach to like working with somebody in this setting, right? It's not just about actually, I would say, the things that you're seeing on an image, right? I think, I like to think, there absolutely is a time and a place for imaging and tests and procedures, because I think that gives you more information to make better decisions, sure. Right? But like, I think we all know that we are much more complex than that. There's a lot of other uncertainties besides what you're seeing on a 2D image or blood work or whatever, right? Like think about, right, the emotions that, kind of coincide with all of that stuff. So I like to kind of remember too, is that, like really fully understanding how all these things are interplaying and kind of connecting with one another, and leading more to like a strategy, like kind of like bite-sized, small things that are realistic, that align with, their values, their priorities, their life, to like move them forward, right? So I think I really have gotten away from, and I will say this is kind of coming from the traditional chiropractic side of things, where it's very like structural based, right? It's just like, oh, like what does your posture look like? Oh, you have this thing is internally rotated or, out of place. And I think, like that's data. Okay. Like it gives me some information, but like it really misses, I think, all the other deeper layers to it as well. So I feel like I've kind of gotten away from, just thinking about structure and biomechanics and posture, and just recognizing, right, it's thoughts, it's beliefs, it's, what have other people told you, right, about what they think is going on, and how other providers' opinions or advice can really influence also your beliefs about yourself, right? Yes. I mean, I don't know if you've ever been to a doctor where, they kind of point out all the things that are wrong with you, right? This is wrong. This is wrong. Oh, you have a bad back. Oh, this is the worst x-ray I've ever seen. And you're like, oh my gosh, like that's just really, I think, making people feel even more hopeless and broken and damaged. And like, I can't imagine how that's going to turn out in the long run too. And that just, when that message keeps popping up for them. So I feel like now I'm kind of fully appreciating like everything that's going on in somebody's life, really understanding where they're coming from, what their struggles are, what has worked, what hasn't worked. And, just trying to figure out, like what you can do to start, and like making more of a positive experience with exercise and fitness, so that, you feel more like a badass and not like a fragilista where you like are afraid to do anything. Yeah. And I think that's part of the problem too, that, and this is not a diss or anything against the medical community, or I go to the chiropractor once a month so that I keep my spine correct. And right. That's one little piece of my self care management, because I know I need to do that. I sit a lot, right? Even when I'm training, right? So again, I think everything has a piece, but here's the bottom line. Mind, body, spirit. Our mind is freaking powerful. And if we don't take that piece, what we're thinking, what we're feeling, like you said, do I feel like a badass and I am strong and I'm getting crap done every day? Or do I feel frail? Well, then if I'm feeling frail, I'm going to act frail. And that's what I'm going to attract into my life. And it becomes this whole ripple effect. So if we can understand that the mind, body, spirit, they have to work together, but it starts in our head. And I think we forget that the quick fix is take this pill or, go to physical therapy, and that's all you need. Meanwhile, I'm gaining weight while I'm going to physical therapy, which is making my knee injury even worse, so that we're correcting one piece of the puzzle, but everything else is disconnected. And I think that's where the danger comes in, because we're relying on that one piece to fix everything, and it can't. It's just not how our body is a miraculous temple, and yet we forget. And I just want to share two quick things. I've shared with you, my dad, we're having his 93rd birthday this weekend. God bless him. He still lives alone. He walks 8,000 steps a day.
I tell him to shut up when he says that to me. So he does 8,000 steps, God bless him. And he's on no medication other than eye drops. What does that tell you, Shannon? He has lived a clean life. He's always moved his body. That's why it's such a good habit for him. And that's why he's living independently. He's still with it. God bless him. Right. And all these, he thrives in life. So that makes me happy to see. The other piece I wanted to share was personally, several years ago, I had torn my meniscus working out. And let me just tell you my mindset then. The kids were in hockey practice. There was a gym upstairs that I belonged to. I got on the elliptical and my knee started hurting. And I thought, suck it up. You have 10 more minutes. Get it done. You don't have time anymore. Just dig. And I tore my meniscus because it had twisted and I didn't stop. Right. So shame on me with that mind, body, spirit. I was out of alignment there. Fast forward, it became a chronic issue for about a decade where I had to wear braces and all these things. It wasn't enough for surgery. Physical therapy didn't help. I went to an energy worker and again, mind, body, spirit. I have not had a problem in over 8 years, knock on wood. I don't even think about it anymore. And the meniscus is probably still torn. I have no idea because I haven't had an x-ray. I don't care. But that whatever that blockage was in my body and my mind, we cleared it and it healed. So this is the power of the mind, body, spirit that we're talking about, but you have to customize it. It's not a one size fits all. And I think a lot of practitioners out there, Shan, that's what they do. Well, my program works. People have lost 80 pounds on it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Exactly.
But is that going to fit into the lifestyle long-term that this could become part of my longevity, not just my quick fix for, like in my case, the knee, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. No, I think there's a lot of hacks out there, like, oh yeah, do this program, do these 3 bet, right? I think that's all you see on social media now. Like, right. I'm very, social media based, I guess that's how I connect with a lot of people, but it's all about, do the 3 best exercises for your back pain, right? Like, oh, do this 8-week challenge program to like get your exercise going. But I think, those are very, and again, I think there is a time and a place, like maybe that's helpful for some people, but I think if you're really thinking about, like long-term, right? Like, we'll say like health span versus lifespan, right? I think there's it's one thing just to live longer, but it's another to like live longer and actually be like fully,
like
able, like exactly like your father, like able to do all the things that you want to do, still have your strength, still have your energy, still have your cognitive ability, not be like bound by like comorbidities and, metabolic issues, think about all the diabetes, cardiovascular disease, cancer, all that stuff. So no, I think it just goes to show that, again, like you need this kind of like full, outlook, big picture approach, I think, to health. And right, it's way more even too than just movement. Yeah. Like I like to think, obviously, a very exercise, like, strength conditioning, really trying to think about how do I help somebody improve their performance progressively over time so that they are that above average 80 or 90-year-old, right? Yep. And so I like to say to people sometimes, right, if you want to be an above average 80-year-old, you can't just be an average 30 or 40-year-old. Like you have to kind of start now in order to really like get to where you want to go, right, for the next decades of life.
But that's a good question, Shannon. Yeah. How many people think about that? How many? I think when I was 30, I'm like, I got all the time in the world, right? I'm going to live forever. I'm healthy. I'm strong, right? I'm a size. I'm almost 6 feet, right? I'm 5'11", and I was a size 10, right? Which was pretty good back in the day. Now I'm not, but I won't tell you my size. But you get where I'm going. So I think when we're 30s, we're not thinking about, well, how do I want to live when I'm 80? And I think that's an important question. Not that we have to get obsessed about it, but I think we have. What are the habits now that can sustain me long term? Have you come up with key components that you think contribute to that, really that longevity, but also that longevity with a fulfilling life, like you were just saying? Are there key components that you found with some of your younger elders,
Yeah, absolutely. And I think right at the end of the day, the biggest thing is consistency, right? But I'll say consistency in the sense of, right, it's not 100% of the time, right? Like that's not what consistent is. I think consistent is still like showing up regardless of like what is going on in life, right? And it can be as small or as big as that can be.
Sure.
But I think that's kind of where, again, I'll say more on like the fitness side of things, is that I think fitness for a very, very long time in our culture and society has been portrayed as this very like, yeah, all or nothing thing, right? Especially with sports. Like think about it, right? Got to go to practice. You got to work hard. You got to like go, 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 no pain, no gain, right? And so how does that, from even like a young kid's perspective on like what activity should look like, and then, right, they get to their 20s, their 30s, their 40s, their life doesn't look the same. Obviously, childhood to, adolescence to adulthood, very different life, right? And so, yeah, I just see like there's not that connection between like what you can still do to keep yourself going for the long run. That doesn't look like this all or none type of thing, right? And I think that's where I feel like a lot of the like disconnect in the beliefs of like what exercise should be and needs to be. Because I think, again, there's this thought that, right, I have to do something every single day in order to make it worthwhile. And that's not the case. Like, that's absolutely not the case. I think that mostly leads to burnout, right? Like that's how people get injured and people burn out, because they're just doing too much way too soon.
Yes.
You know what I mean? So it's like, how do we actually make it more sustainable over time? And so I tell some of the people I work with all the time is that this isn't about perfection. This isn't about completing and checking off every single workout. It's actually in those moments where life is getting in the way that you're still doing something regardless, right?
Yes.
I can tell a quick story, but actually, and hopefully I think my mom is probably cool with me sharing this, but my mom actually had brain surgery back in late December last year.
Oh my gosh.
And yeah, like crazy time, right? Like long freaking story, but my like father was supposed to be with her during the surgery. He ended up getting COVID, so he couldn't go into the hospital. So me and my sister, actually my younger sister is also a physical therapist, which is kind of funny. But anyway, so we both come home, for that week to like be with her. I was actually in the hospital the whole day of the surgery. And so, we were home for a little bit of time. Like it really, I was not in my usual routine. I'm in Jersey there in Maryland. Life, like literally life. I remember December was a crazy freaking time. I was home. I was, not really working. And I remember, I was really thrown off with my routine. I usually go to the gym, or like I actually have like a home gym that I also work out in. So probably for a good 2 to 3 weeks, I was not really working out, right? I remember I was trying to go for walks. I remember I did like a little like 7-minute workout in my kitchen. Like I was doing like push-ups and squats or whatever. And, I remember thinking, I was like, like it doesn't have to, I knew that I was going to get back there. Right. But I knew in that season of life that like I needed to be there for my family. Absolutely. And that was the priority for me. But I think, again, like what happens a lot is that those moments where, maybe your priority gets pulled in this direction, but like you have trouble just finding your way back right after that, because then the overwhelming feelings. Oh, I didn't do my workout. Oh, I didn't do my workout again. Oh, I didn't do my workout again. Now it's like, what's the point? I'm overwhelmed. What's the point?
That's right. That's right.
Right. But
again,
like that doesn't have to be the case. Yeah.
Mind, body, spirit.
Exactly.
Like we cannot get away from that freaking mind, right? The mindset. And that inner dialogue, right? We could talk ourselves out of things quite easily. We've become very good at, listening to that inner record player, if you will.
Oh, 100%. We're curious, so good at that.
How do you, all of us are humans. We're very interesting. How do you balance pushing your, the physical limits with ensuring that we don't harm or burn out, like you were just saying, in that long run, because we go. And then all of a sudden it's like, I am so done with this. So that all or nothing, but how do we balance that?
Yeah, no, I feel like that's the big question here, right? Like nobody, I feel like, right. I work with a lot of people who have, lingering injuries, we'll say chronic pain. It's just like something like this yo-yo kind of cycle of, there's something always wrong, right? Oh, this hurts, that's bothering me. And I think, obviously it's human nature to want to like protect yourself, right? I think that just goes back to like our, ancestor days of like, we're just trying to protect ourselves, right? Like that's what your nervous system and your body is constantly doing. It's just constantly trying to make sure you're safe, right? And I think, sometimes that drive of like safety can become the habit, right? Like over the long course of time. And so I'd like to tell people, right, short term, like that's a great solution. That's a great mechanism that we have to keep us safe. But over time, right, like we can't just always stay in that safe zone. Like you have to progress. Like you have to actually be prepared to handle what life is going to throw at you, right? Like you could literally step off a curb and twist your ankle tomorrow. So I like to kind of think this reframe of, because I think in the, again, fitness rehab world, like we talk a lot about like injury prevention, right? Oh yeah, you can do these things so that you don't get hurt and you don't get injured. But I think hard truth is that life is going to happen. Like, look at Aaron Rodgers. Like I use this example all the time now. Like that guy, think about it. He's been training for, I mean, years. And like this fluke kind of thing, who would have thought he would just tear his Achilles like within 2 minutes of playing, right? Like, so I just think, right, I think we have to fully accept that like there's always uncertainty. Sure. There's always a risk involved. So I think the conversation we actually need to be having is like, well, how do you navigate it actually when it happens? Like, what do you do when you get hurt? Not like, oh my gosh, I'm going to protect myself and prevent myself from getting hurt. Because again, that I just feel like that's not what happens. Like we inevitably probably will get hurt, right? I don't think anybody's going to get through life without facing some type of physical pain, hardship, tweak, sprain, strain,
surgery, whatever. Yeah.
So, yeah, exactly. So I think that's where I'm trying to figure out, like, you know, trying to get them to kind of become aware of that and kind of maybe accept that fact, and like trying to lead them forward, where what I'm actually trying to do more from a performance perspective is like, quote unquote, like having you have enough reserve so that you can overcome that stuff, right? Like you can navigate it. So again, I'm actually trying to not just get somebody to just not feel pain. I think that's really step one, but step 10 is like, right, I'm a badass. Like I know my body can handle this stuff. I know how to overcome and navigate flare-ups and when things pop up, and like it's not going to derail my life. Like I know I can move through this. I always tell people motion is lotion, rest is rest. I think rest is needed, right? But like maybe like 10% of the time. And then you actually really need to figure out how to progress and move forward. But yeah, it's a lot of work for people to overcome that kind of fear and anxiety around, you know, potentially getting hurt.
I think the key thing though, you just said, and I remember I had appendicitis just before COVID hit. And of course I had to go through surgery, and you come out of surgery and they're like, all right, get up and start moving around. And so I was like, okay, it's going to get me out of here faster. I'll do 10 miles for you, right? So that I could poop or whatever they wanted me to do before they would.
Yeah.
And my husband's like, you know, they want you to walk, but like, you don't have to do something. I'm like, no, we're getting out of here. Like I want to hijack out of this joint. Right. So I think that the movement, like you said, motion is lotion. I agree with that. And that's why doctors now after surgery, instead of being sedentary, like, no, move, because it gets the blood flowing and it lubricates the body to heal and empowers the body to strengthen and heal. So I think that's a must. The other thing that I'm taking away, and we're out of time, but I just want to comment, I hope everybody heard this throughout our conversation. Shannon's, beliefs or how she coaches and works with people is it's not an all or nothing. It's very customized. And I hope you heard that. Customized, people think, oh, customized can be, it's a lot more money. Customized doesn't mean more money. I customize with all of my clients the solutions because I have this, I know what they need. I just have to package it differently for them where they and their sales teams are. For you, for you to come and say, oh, my program is, whether you're 30 or me at 62, it's nonsense. It doesn't work that way. My schedule is different. I'm a business owner. Maybe the other person is a stay-at-home mom. I don't know. So you take people where they are. Think about, well, where do you want to go? Do you want to run a 10-mile marathon or do a marathon? Or do you just want to live a sustainable, good life like my dad and hit 93 so that you can live independently? What is your objective? And my objective could be very different than the next person. That doesn't mean and it also means that the solution isn't going to be the same, because we're not the same. Nobody's
Mhm.
the same. So I
Correct.
love how you look at the human, address where they are mentally, mind, body, spirit, right? Their inner workings, their inner voice. And then how can we adjust diet or movement or whatever it is that's actually going to fit so they do it? Because you could come up with a great plan and it's 8 hours a day that I need to work out. It ain't ever happening. It could be the
No.
best plan ever. It's
Like
not
nobody
gonna
has time for that.
No.
Nobody has time for that.
So I like how it's about the customization, but you start with a conversation,
Correct.
understanding, and then the solution kind of creates itself. And
Mhm.
the other thing you said is you start with the baby step. You don't start with the being a badass right out of the gate, right? We have
Correct.
to build
Yes.
that momentum and those habits and the strength. And then,
Mhm.
a year from now, like, holy crap, I am a badass. My confidence
Mhm.
is high. I look better. My posture's better. I'm stronger. I'm healthier, whatever it is that people are dealing with.
Yeah.
I think the other thing, before I give your information, Shan, for me, life changes. And if we look at every decade of life, I think there's something to learn and there's shifts, right? From in your 20s, you're graduating college. And if you go to college or trade school, whatever, and then you're honing your craft. Then 30, typically we're getting married, maybe starting to have kids. Now, all of a sudden, where's that life balance, right? And then our 40s, the kids are kind of independent, but we're probably running around a little bit more because now they have sports because they're teenagers. And my career is at a point where I have more responsibility. And then in your 50, right? So I think each decade you have to build for each decade and then add or subtract, right? And kind of massage what you're doing because, once you're a career woman and kids, time is even less. How can we do other things that we didn't have to do in our 20s and 30s? So I love your process because it's not only about right here, right now, but it's like, okay, yeah, let's get rid of that pain right here, right now, for sure. But let's build something that's going to sustain you. And I love how you say decades, plural. So you're in your 20s. What do you want to look like when you're at 50? Let's build that from now. We can create that and with ease, right?
Exactly.
But you have to have a plan. So, and I love that you're doing this coaching and that the chiropractic side was great, but now you're like, oh, but wait, there's more because you're learning through all of your studies and your own development, as a woman, as a practitioner, that you see the value of behavioral science with the chiropractic, with the exercise science, right? So I love that you zoom out to zoom in for the client, and then you zoom out again as life changes, and you zoom back in. So we're constantly massaging and maneuvering to get people where they want to be now, but also that longevity of decades from now to just be a badass forever. So I'm loving you. I'm loving on you, kiddo.
I love it.
Shannon, look, she's my neighbor, so I'm lucky. She literally is a walk away. But if you're curious about her process, go to her website. It's Live Well with Dr. for drshannon.com. I'll put that in the show notes. No worries on that. And if you have a question for her, please reach out to her email, which is Dr. again, Dr. Shann, Shann Connolly, Connolly @gmail.com. Again, that too will be in the show notes. And I know for my peeps, you have a special gift. If they email you, what will they get?
Yeah. So anybody who is listening right now, I'm happy to do like a free, kind of like a deep dive movement evaluation, right? So I'd love to, work with people in a sense where I'm trying to kind of pinpoint maybe some things that, you haven't really considered thinking about trying to like develop or, kind of improve from, we'll say more of the performance side of things. So if you feel like you want somebody to kind of really like take that bird's eye view and kind of like see your blind spots essentially. So that's really where I like to start with people and trying to figure out like what your true baseline is. So that again, what you're doing sustainably over time is matching like where you're currently at in your physical abilities, right? So that you're not just doing random things and you're not just kind of guessing, oh, I just need to do more of these exercises. We can really kind of refine and actually like narrow down, okay, like this is what you need to focus on and work on. So, okay, okay, let's do like a little evaluation together and see where things are at.
So here's the thing for Shannon. She does do virtual too, guys. So don't think, oh, you have to be like me. I'm in her backyard, but that's not necessarily the case. And the other thing is this, that she's not going to pitch you or anything like that. This is true. She is lovely and she means what she says, where she is here to change the world and help everybody live decades in good health, good minds, good spirit, all of those things. So take her up on her offer, man. You never know what you'll learn. We all have blind spots. And if someone could just shine a light on that, and then sometimes you're off to the races and you could figure it out yourself. That's great. That's a beautiful thing. And then if you do need Shen, she's there for you. So again, this is not a pitch that, oh yeah, she's going to do a session with me and then I'm going to get the hard pitch at the end. Trust me, that is not who this lady is. She's freaking amazing. Yeah, she's
like, I absolutely hate being salesy. I hate being salesy.
Right? Yeah, me too. And I'm in sales.
That's right.
There's sales and there's coming from love, care, and respect. And that is what Shannon's about. So check her out. Again, I'll put the website, email in the show notes. Check her out. Reach out to her. And I know that if truly you're dealing with anything, that you're doing something, it's not working, or you feel like you're missing something, there may be a blind spot, because it's a blind spot. We don't know what it is. Just have a conversation. It's so worth it. And sometimes that's all we need is just an idea or a direction. And then we really can run on our own. So again, use Shannon, not abuser, but user for sure. And Shan, thanks for being on such an important conversation, especially as I age. I see the value of your zone of genius for all ages. But I think, my 20 and 30-year-olds listening, if you want to be healthy and strong 60s, 70s, and the 80s, you got to start now and keep it simple, right? We could keep it simple. We don't have to do anything cray. So thank you so much, Shan, for sharing your
thank you. Thank you. No, and I like to say, right, it's never too late. It is never too late. Yeah, it's never too late.
Right. Yeah. Look at my dad, 93, Fitbit, 8,000 steps a day. Everybody can do it. Thanks again, Shan. And thank you for joining me weekly as we question, build, and discover together. No matter where you are on your journey of change and whatever that means to you, I truly hope that my guests and I provide insight, tips, strategies, thoughts that maybe have that aha moment of, oh, Shannon, Connie, you guys are talking to me. My hope is that you take this information, do something with it, change one little piece that you're doing or strategy that you're doing, shift it, pivot, small steps create big impact. And I hope that today, Shannon, some of her ideas, even if it's just mindset, start to shine a light on where you could potentially change your mindset. Again, information is a beautiful thing. If you do nothing with it, simply information, put it into action. And man, magic happens on the back end. Motion is lotion. I love that. I'm going to use that, Shan. Cool, cool saying. Thank you again. Thank you all for joining. You've been listening to Enlightenment of Change with me, your host, Connie Whitman, on webtalkradio.com. I truly hope you have an inspired week, and I am honored that you're on this journey of change with me. And I hope my guests and I inspire you to make the changes you need, whatever that is in your life and career. I love you all. I am honored to have you. And I will see you next week. Have a great one, everybody. Thanks a million.